Well, good morning, good afternoon to you all. How are you doing today? My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the Market Development Manager and Sales Manager here at Zyxel. We're here this week for Tech Talk with Zyxel. Good to have you again. If you've been here before, basically this is a forum that allows for me to give you some information about different topics, different technologies. And today we're going to be talking about managed service revenue opportunities using Zyxel solutions. So we wanted to be interactive, or at least I want it to be interactive. So let's just show a raise of hands if you can hear me just fine in the participant window. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for letting me know that. We are here to facilitate this discussion with you. So feel free to use the Q&A section or the chat box at any time. I'll try to get to those in line and those kind of questions answered as much as possible. We have a lot of slides to cover today because there's a lot of things that I want to be able to cover with you. If you are new with us, thank you for being a partner or looking at becoming a partner here with Zyxel, and we look forward to working with you soon on any future projects. Let's see, let's go ahead and move on. I will not mention Wi-Fi 6E yet there, RW Sanders, but we definitely will touch on that in the future date. Let's go ahead. So just a quick introduction to who Zyxel is. We've been around since 1989, over 30 years of networking experience with 100 million devices, making connections worldwide, 600 employees here at Zyxel Networks, 700,000 businesses use Zyxel solutions in 150 global markets. We are internationally recognized for our innovation and our design, winning awards and also being nominated for awards of 2021 as well. So we're looking forward to updating this slide here as well. We've been certified with ICSA labs for the last 20 years, going on 21 now. We're one of the few vendors who have done that with all of our security appliances for certification testing and for interoperability. We are solutions driven, and today we're going to be talking about several of those solutions because we are client driven. So whatever needs that you have as a service provider, managed service provider, installer, or even your end customers, whatever needs that you have, we work with our R&D for both hardware and software to deliver different solutions to service different verticals or different types of applications, ways that we can make your business run smoother, or how you manage the devices easier, and make it the whole ecosystem of all the products work better for all parties involved. And of course, our whole portfolio is all about end-to-end delivery of networking solutions. So if we have one takeaway from this, is if you have any kind of networking needs, any of your customers have any kind of connectivity, just think of Zyxel. Zyxel has something that will fulfill that network, from security appliances, wireless solutions, internet connectivity with Ethernet, LAN connectivity, core, fiber, 10 gig, multi-gig, gateway access solutions for hotspot and network management. So I'm not going to be able to cover all of these things, but all of these products that you see, even in our comprehensive portfolio, have some tie-in with potentially a managed service kind of opportunity. One of the things I won't be covering today is the hotspot functionality, the hotspot solutions. I may touch on it at the end if we have some time, but that is another way of using an application or as a service to bringing forth a kind of a managed solution, a revenue opportunity for both you and the customer involved as well. But holistically, all of the products put together gives you an opportunity for bringing some sort of charge recurring revenue to to your business. And if that's something that you're looking into, well, we're going to cover some of that and some of the solutions that are available here. So one of the biggest, I think I've been a proponent for the last few years, is one of the biggest things, if you are not currently a managed service provider or looking at becoming one, or even if you're a seasoned like managed service provider, something that we've developed a few years ago and have been in deployment for the last 2-3 years now is going to make it easier, and we continue to evolve the product. It's called Zyxel Nebula. It brings a simpler way to do manage IT. So if you're looking at any kind of application to do managed services, manages IT, wireless switches, gateways, we have a solution that will provide that. There's a lot of things that come involved or have to be part of the infrastructure in the investment. You have to purchase, in order to build out kind of a managed service provider model, you have to look at how you invest your time, your money, your the hardware, and the management solution in there as well. So first you have to purchase the equipment. that includes all the switches, wireless, anything that has maintenance, and the licenses and any kind of maintenance contracts that are involved in there. You have to then take that equipment and install it, or even pre-install. It could be complex installations. You have to work with the customer to finding out the different solutions and then actually configuring the device. Typically that requires you to go on site to do that. You have to then use some sort of equipment to monitor, or you have to set up extra equipment in a NOC to do syslog, IGMP or ICMP, snooping information, SNMP for monitoring of different devices. And it has to encompass all sorts of devices, right? Zyxel products and even other third-party products in there as well. But you have to go out and set up that solution, and that could be hosted in the cloud, be hosted in, or on-prem. So there's a lot of different hardware equipment pieces that may come involved in there. You have to have access to the equipment as well, building the infrastructure, VPN access, maybe secure MPLSs to get into the device. It depends on your application, but you have to build access to be able to monitor, to be able to manage those devices remotely, because of course, moving in or trying to do it directly is going to be very costly. So the infrastructure is really important to be able to handle that. You then have to buy either like a open source or set up an open source or a third-party application to do the monitoring itself, like SolarWinds or Zabbix. And this could be very costly as your network continues to grow. So maybe managing just a few devices is not going to be too much, but as your customer base, or if your reach is going to be much larger, or you have customers that are managing more and more devices, then you have to get higher licensings for that platform and to be able to monitor and configure those. You then have to pay for the storage of all those platforms as well to be able to save configurations, and you have to have your data center servers to manage all that, to be able to handle the traffic, to be able to handle the syslogs and the constant data that you're kind of managing. You have to then also work a way to handle updates, settings changes, have SOPs that or scripts that allow for you to get into it. How do you mass upgrade firmwares? You have to figure all that out as well. You then have to also get information of the device itself, authentication of the users that are managing the cloud, either a Radius server or managing guest network access, user access, policies, handling all that in that system that you're building out. Now, what Nebula brings is a better way to kind of manage that. We don't handle all of those steps, but we do manage a majority of that. You still have to purchase your equipment. You have to purchase your security devices, your wireless, your switches, your licensings, and all that. You have to actually go and install it, but we have a way to actually do auto provisioning. Lets you do global settings, and you can be up and running in less than 5 to 10 minutes from the time that it dials home, and we'll talk about how that works. But you still have to install. We do offer then a contactless way of doing it as well. You do not need to buy any monitoring equipment. It's all part of the solution. You no longer also need any kind of special access built. You don't need to build a VPN. As long as it has internet access, the kind of access to the cloud is already built into the system itself. You don't need any additional cloud keys and that kind of thing. The monitoring platform is already included. It gives you a unified platform to manage multiple customers for switches, gateways, wireless devices within the system itself. All of the data is stored in the cloud, so you no longer have to worry about that up to a year if you're using the Pro pack. You have simplified updates through it. You can do automated scheduling, updates, central configuration. You can do mass configurations. You can do cloning of devices or even whole entire sites for that matter. And you give access, or you get access, be able to make existing methods work with like Radius, user authentication, any kind of built-in user device management. You can manage it via like the captive portals. You can use it for the hotspot management functions, or guest network access, or even Facebook Wi-Fi. So we give, excuse me, all of that is still part of that solution that you have to kind of provide for this application. So that's kind of the basis, like for managed services, like managed service providers. And any one of those points, we have customers who are billing customers now to managing their networks, whether it be from the initial installation or it's a rental of the equipment and the solution itself, where we were providing a managed solution and a hotspot solution, or guest network access, or just even network management when new SSIDs are required or new VPN tunnels are required. We have that ability to do that all here. Now, I know one of the biggest questions that I think, or maybe the blockade, stumbling blocks that they may encounter when they're talking to an end customer, that, why do I have to pay $5, $10 or $40 or $100 a month for this service when it feels like I could just take this equipment and just plug it in and it'd be done, right? There's a lot of things that come into play, and how you can develop visibility on how you're managing the network to show that there is a value that they're paying for, not only for the equipment itself, but also for the maintenance, the alerts, the alarms when things are up and down, how much traffic's being used. And I'll talk about that. And I think that's what's important, because with networking, with Wi-Fi, and with security type applications, the end customer usually has no visibility on it, has no comprehension, or maybe no way of like quantifying something that is just in the network. Most businesses, most networks don't even realize how many attacks they've been dealing with, or who's going to what websites, or how much information or data is being used on their bandwidth for other applications besides business. So there's a lot of that visibility. When you give that to the customer, that's when you really hold the value of what you're charging, and showing how much what kind of things that are being done, what proactive things are being done to be able to mitigate either interference, or to give better Wi-Fi, or better connectivity altogether for the entire network. So it's all about, I think it's all about that visibility, and that's where I think Nebula comes in a great kind of package for any kind of service provider to be able to get the whole holistic view and the whole package that can deliver to the end customer the solutions that they need, and also the reporting that's needed to manage it from an IT level, from your perspective, and also to give those kind of reporting information to the customer to show that value that they're paying for. So there's a lot of services that we can also include within this that again give you more visibility, give you more value, that again you can pass on to the customer for that. But it's really about hassle-free network management, being able to provide a very powerful, effortless, and scalable solution to both managed service providers and also to the end customer. So Zyxel Nebula brings that. We're dedicated to improving the product, and because it's in the cloud, we're constantly adding functionality, new features, and requests from your customers to be able to make it a better product overall. The setup is incredible. I mean, from a deployment, this is what you want as an ultimate deployment solution. From a configuration standpoint, you just need to have somebody who's knowledgeable within the network to be able to do the initial configurations in the cloud. Even you can set up the product without even unboxing it. You can register the device using the network Nebula Cloud Control Center, and either by typing in the MAC and serial, or you can use the app, like a mobile app that will scan the QR code on the box or on the belly label of the product, and be able to then register it to the cloud. So the moment that it's plugged in and it gets internet connectivity by DHCP, typically within the existing network, it's able to call home and say, hey, who do I belong to? Who do I, what's my configuration? What's the firmware that you've told me to become? And instantly it registers it within the cloud and be able to do that. So you can do it typically without even unboxing it. And this allows for you to do contactless installation if you need to, meaning that you could just deliver the box to the customer. The customer just has some basic information to plug the gateway into the internet connection WAN, the switch into the gateway, the access point into the switch, and bam, it gets connectivity, calls home. Your folks in the tech department can already see the product once it's dialed in, and be able to make any tweaks and changes remotely. So as long as that's configured, then it's all good to go. Or installation could be very minimal contact. The person goes in, plugs everything in, and is out, right? And literally within minutes, and can do any kind of extra configurations either outside or within the NOC, within the control center itself. So you don't necessarily need a full network admin to go do an installation for a network. They just need to be even a cable person who's able to be trained on plugging in So your reach is actually a lot further than you would can imagine. So you could even do where you may have a customer who's in the state next over, or maybe a few hours away that it's not worth driving to. You can always ship the package to the customer, or ship it to a third party like contractor who does installation. And you can do that, and they can do the initial connectivity for you, and you can take over and do the rest. So you could be up and running in just a few minutes and be able to manage that, because there's no additional hardware or software required. There's no additional cloud keys that you have to install and configure within the local network. There's no additional servers that you have to put in there to get visibility of the network. It's all housed within each individual product. The agent is able to call home to the Nebula cloud and make those connectivities. And I think that's very important for a managed service provider, is to be able to not have to have too many moving parts. Too many things to configure within the network just makes the installation more complex. So you can see, as a kit, a bundle kit for maybe a doctor's office, let's say you're targeting dentist, like a small dental office or something like that, their basic need is typically a gateway, a secure gateway, a wireless access point that's plugged into a PoE switch. And they may have some of the other office things in there, but that's the general kind of network that's required. And so you can literally create a custom cookie cutter site and tweak out all of the configurations that you need to until you have a very nice kind of solid configuration that you use for that particular application. Then when you sell to a customer in that particular application, you can literally clone that with our professional version of Nebula, be able to clone that site to the new customer and be able to do that every time you get a new customer. So that, again, it saves you on the time of the configuration. You've already made sure that everything was good to go, and the only things you need to change maybe is the SSID, maybe some of the wireless gateway, or maybe if there's doing guest network access, how to manage that. But typically in an office, a doctor's office, there's the ability to do all that within the Nebula system. So you could be able to configure and monitor within just a few clicks, again, without any additional hardware. And because it's in the cloud, you can access it anywhere, anytime, using a tablet, a PC, your phone, your app, to be able to get information on that. So we've hosted that within the cloud, within the Amazon cloud. And so you can configure and monitor and get all that information as if you were directly logged into the product. It's all constantly talking to the Nebula cloud, and we're able to push information, grab information that you need for both the customer and for the device itself. So it's easy to set up things like guest network access. And this is one of the opportunities that you may have too. Using Nebula to deliver a captive portal, user device management, auto guest isolation protection. So really building a guest network access. So I use that, maybe the doctor's office, but let's say it's a coffee shop that you're wanting to deploy into. The coffee shop may have the private network, but then also have a guest network access. So this is part of the managed services where you can provide maybe secure login, or a change of IP addresses, or even provide services of the captive portal that tie into a radius server that maybe the chain of coffee shops that you're working with can offer like a daily fee, so that wherever they go within that chain of coffee shops in the area, they're able to still get access to the paid network. Let's say you have opportunities to do those kinds of things as well. With the captive portal, you have then a captive audience and a page which you can then build into maybe recurring revenues, or revenue opportunities with advertisement. Or let's say you're delivering this solution, this Wi-Fi solution with hotspot guest network into like a local or regional mall that has customers who are visiting, and tying onto that guest network access, be able to be transported to a splash page or captive portal page that they log into, but then be able to sell advertisements or whatever notifications to the different stores that are there, coupons and things. And so you can customize those pages and be able to work however you may want, or provide a service in that way for guest network access. So it's really easy to do that within the Nebula cloud. Now, there are some other sophisticated ways outside of the Nebula cloud to do the hotspot, which can give you things like tiered billing. And so you can then use tiered billing for free network access for the guest, but then have a premium kind of paid service as well. I think for the premium paid services, we're working on getting it into Nebula, but if you're looking at to doing that kind of thing, the standalone product will handle that function. Donald asked, do you have any captive portal templates that we can modify? Yes. So within the system itself, it gives you a basic template because you do have to have at least a snippet of code in the HTML to be able to do that captive portal functionality. But typical, if you use any kind of HTML or even standard design and save it as HTML, as long as you know how to put that little snippet of code in there or maintain that without hurting the changes of that template, then it will function just fine. We are working with our tech support and to be able to give you some additional templates that make it easier for you to kind of modify some of these pages that come up, because you have to modify the login page, the kind of the splash page that ends up once you redirect, some of the other error message pages and things like that if you want it all customized. And you can host it within the solution itself, so it has a basic template which you can modify, or you can host it in your own. So if you're working with a company that is needing like specialized or very custom look, because the look and feel is more like their website, then you could design and host that in your own servers, and we can point the redirects to go to that. So we are providing what we call a gold standard in wireless. With Nebula, we use extended Wi-Fi coverage, smart mesh technologies in conjunction with our Wi-Fi access points to be able to give you high quality, high throughput, secured and secure wireless using the latest technologies in WPA2 Enterprise and WPA3. We can use Radius server for authentication as well. And so it depends on what your needs are for the customer. So again, these are kind of advanced functions that you can use as part of your managed services. If you just want to do, hey, basic connectivity, here's your monthly charge fee for it. But if you want us to be able to manage and handle a lot of your authentication for your wireless network, both in the private and public, then you can do that as well. We have roaming functionalities in industry standards for roaming. So moving them from access point to access point is very easy, both in a private network and a public guest network access. There's intelligence at the core. So PoE, intelligent PoE, all of our switches within our Nebula family and our Nebula Flex functionality provides PoE access to power up access points, IP cameras, voice over IP phones. So whether your business model is geared toward guest network access in schools, in let's say retail or hospitality, those kinds of things, we have the PoE that powers that. If your primary business is in the VoIP side, being able to make connectivities with voice over IP phones, then those PoE devices can be used for those applications and still be monitored within the cloud, be able to be managed, and we'll talk about how that gets managed as well. And then of course the IP camera network as being able to use your IP cameras and being powered by PoE, but getting visibility of it. I think that's where one of the untapped markets there is using IP cameras for the IP camera network. Is a lot of the visibility is kind of very localized or very minimal. But now using a Nebula and these cloud switches, you can get all the visibility that you would normally on a full and high-end managed switch. We provide network protection through ACLs, VLAN configurations, authentications, DHCP, loop guards, so you can prevent customers from accidentally putting a router into the network and providing DHCP across the network. So we're able to lock that down, do IGMP snooping for different video applications, multicast and things like that. You're able to stack the switches and be able to manage and virtually stack them as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use to manage, provide different services within that. We provide over-the-air updates, meaning that configurations, firmware updates are all done via cloud and through the network. So as long as there's still internet connectivity, we can push that information to them. You can even schedule them as well. So as a managed service provider, being able to keep things up to date with security functions, keeping them updated with maybe the latest patches and latest firmwares, you can choose to schedule these devices like over a certain time. So you can say, well, off peak hours, you don't need to go on site to do these kind of configurations. You can just say, hey, I'm gonna schedule an update at 2 a.m., tomorrow night, and all of the access points, or maybe even half the access points gets updated. And then maybe the next day gets scheduled with the other half. So you can be kind of granular in that regard and be able to control how you're managing your systems. Before, without this kind of cloud system, you would have to individually go into each device, manually upgrade the firmware, go back out. And of course, you have to build the back doors that are necessary for you to even do that in the first place. So you have to build your VPN connections. You have to have any kind of port informations in order to get to those, open them up the firewall. You have to do all these things. Whereas with Nebula, as long as it's connected back to the cloud, it has access to be able to push that information securely through the network. So VPN can be, oh, so also the other thing was VPN can be made easy. So now with remote access, remote connectivity, everybody's working from home, needing VPN connectivity back to the office. We've made it easy for you to establish both LTTP over IPsec or IPsec type VPN connections to, site-to-site connectivity for those kinds of customers to be able to manage and work remotely, work from home. You can manage all of your customer needs just from a single pane of glass. You can manage it from a single site. You can organize them in a multi-tenant. And that's where we think we've managed to build a solution that is really tailor-made for managed service providers. Being able to get all of your customers into a single view, single platform. When you first log into the dashboard, you can then drill into each organization to see the multiple sites. And so we've organized it in a way that lets you drill into a multi-layer. So you can have multiple organizations. So let's say you have this coffee shop chain and you would click into that organization and it will bring you to all the different sites. So you can have an unlimited number of sites that are underneath that. So let's say each retail office or each coffee shop itself has its own network. So you'll be able to see all that, be able to manage it, see the status of that information, and be able to drill in even further. So each location, let's say there's some sort of alert, some sort of alarm that you want to see even further. You can drill into it and check out that particular network's health. It gives you information, real-time application traffic summaries, overview of the devices that are on the network, how much power is being used on the PoE switches that are there versus the budget, what websites people are going to, any attacks, any kind of alerts. So all that real-time information there. And I think, again, that's where managed service providers have a really hard time trying to build something like this on their own. So this is kind of an all-encompassing information over the last few years of working with service providers, managed service providers, providing what views are best, and what kind of information is very valuable to not only to see the network, to show the customer how the network is functioning, but then also use it as a troubleshooting tool to be able to proactively take action. And I'll show you some of the few ways that we can use it to take proactive steps into it. Donald asks, is there a VPN client for mobile devices, iOS and Android? So you can, there are separate iOS or Android app VPN software that you could get and download. Zyxel does not have a specific one, but as long as it's LTTP or IPsec, we're interoperable with that. So you can use that, or you can use the built-in solutions there. So we have some special tools or even SOPs, some information data sheets that can, it's like a walkthrough that our support or your sales rep can get for you if you have a iOS or Android that you want to connect to some of our firewall solutions. So it shows you how to configure it and get into that. So all of the information here you can use and drill in as well. You can also get this visibility within notifications on the app itself. So you can see when they, maybe if you want to set the notifications for certain devices that go offline, and when they come back online, you can get that even to your watch when you get these kind of notifications. So we can have that, again, availability of information to you as a managed service provider to be able to react or even to be able to take care and manage your customers. We can see all the devices that are there as well, connected to the switches, connected to the access points, and have that information on their signal strength and how they're connected and kind of what they're doing. You can drill into those devices and kind of see some more information as well. But this is a great troubleshooting kind of opportunity. You're able to see the signal strength. So you can kind of see, well, this person is seemingly having some bad like connectivity. You could see what access point they're connected to and be able to think, well, if if you contact them and say, well, I see you're having some bad connectivity and you're, where are you at? And so they can then map out within the building, maybe that has some poor coverage. Maybe that's where we need to put some additional access points. And again, this is where the proactive managed service kind of customer or managing your customers is really valuable to that customer. Joe asked, does the NCC license get divided over an entire organization, or is it divided over the site? So it depends on how you've done it. Typically, it is over the entire organization. Well, there's two ways you could do it. You could do it by organization, or you can do it by site. So it depends on how you've kind of built it out. Typically, I believe it's over the site, because you can have one site that has lifetime licenses, and then another site that is or maybe it's organizations. I think it's within the organizations. But if you have any questions on that one specifically, we can get you some more information on that, Joe. You get some network insights. You can see where the activity is, where your access points are, be able to see throughputs, again, connected devices, and also on the switches, you get information as well. You can see how the ports are doing, how much traffic's going through it. You can look to see if maybe certain ports are being overloaded, or you can see if maybe certain ports are down, or you can schedule for those ports to be maybe scheduled reboots. Especially with PoE switches, from a managed service provider perspective, they are really valuable, because it's as if, the number one thing that everybody says when something is wrong, you either reboot your computer or you reboot your router, right? And in these cases too, how do you go and reboot your access points? You can't tell your customer, hey, can you go and find this access point plugged into this wire, plugged into this cable, and unplug it and plug it back in, right? That's just like usually not, it's not easy to do. And so you're with this kind of access, though, you have that visibility right there at your fingertips to be able to say, hey, I'm going to power off this access point by disabling the PoE on that port, waiting 10 seconds or whatever, and then powering it back on. You should see the AP reboot. The AP will come back online, and then you can further get some more information. So that's really helpful to not have to roll a truck out there from, to be able to manage some of these basic kind of troubleshooting methods that are that you would typically run into. You're able to configure each port as well. So each configuration of the port, full configurations of the functions, advanced configurations for these, for VLANs, your typical usage of a switch, VLANs, PoE, maybe IGMP, or broadcast storm, turning on those security functions so that people can't accidentally DHCP, or it will only accept DHCP from a specific port, which is the port that's connected to the router. So you have those kind of functions at your fingertips. And all of these functions that I've talked about so far, except for the cloning of the websites, or cloning of the sites, they're all free. They're all included in our free Nebula platform. So that's our baseline platform. There's some functions that are not available in the free, but the main difference is that you don't get some of these managed service functions, these additional high-end ones, with the logging. So the logging for the free service is only a 7-day log that we keep a running log of, and of the traffic or any alerts and alarms and things like that. But the full pro package gives you access to a whole year's worth of service. And I have some information on how each one breaks down. Nebula Flex is what we call products that can actually go from standalone mode or into the Nebula platform. And you can flex it from a free Nebula or to the Pro. So it's a dual mode functionality. You can migrate from standalone to that. You could still use the free in the Flex as a management, central management, hardware, platform. But in the Pro, it gives you some additional things. 1-year Pro pack, you have to subscribe to licensing services per device, and each device then gives you access to other functions. And I'll talk about some advanced features that I think from a managed service perspective really gives you the features, the functions, the reporting tools that you need to provide if you're going to be charging for managed services. The cool thing about having these options, though, of a free service is that you can give to your customer a initial kind of like a free trial, or even just as maybe customers are on a budget, or don't need or don't care for some of these other security functions and management tools that you would need. And so you can use this as your platform, as kind of like your base platform. But of course, you can always bring them up and upsell them into a Pro package. But I think a lot of managed service providers, even if their customer is not using any of these maybe or require any of these features, it's really good for a managed service provider to still have because of the tools that are available. It allows for them to do that quick install, cloning sites, and some other added MSP type features, including the reporting that I'll talk about as well. It's quick and simple. You just have to create an account. It will at nebula@zyxel.com. You have, let's say you could ensure that all the devices have the latest firmware. You register your device and you can enable it within the cloud, and now you're there within the Nebula system. And so that's your account. So what you would want to do is create that account for your company that manages the organizations. You can then have multiple admins to be able to manage the different the aspects of that. You can assign different techs to even different organizations. So you can spread it out. Maybe you have an East and West Coast technician that handles certain customers, and you can spread it out so they only have access to those as well. You can choose to then, if you don't want to, again, here's where the flexibility is. You can choose to unregister your device. The device will reset itself and go into a standalone mode so that when you log into it next time, it lets you choose between, do you want to go to the Nebula cloud or do you want to keep it in standalone mode? So if you want to keep the device in standalone mode, you can just configure it through the setup wizard, just as normal as you would for any Ethernet switch there. You can upgrade. Nebula Flex is available on a lot of models that maybe you may already have deployed, and we've added Nebula Flex to it. So as long as you just go to the latest firmware that has the Nebula Flex capabilities, then those devices, those older devices will be able to go into the cloud for free. And be supported within the Nebula Flex. Now, there's some models, you may not have these, but there were certain models that when you do go to the newest firmware, it included a year's worth or maybe even up to 3 years worth of Nebula services. So some of those access points just inherited the new functionality or to the new licenses in that new firmware. So it depends on which one you're doing. But in general, if you do buy an access point, some of them, the pro access points do include the Nebula licenses in them. So here are a few list of it, what's included. So in general, most of our access points have the Nebula free. Let me pull out my my laser pen here. My laser pointer. A lot of them have the Nebula free in there, but then when you get to any of our WACs and our higher end WAX models, they will include the 1 year Pro Pack, meaning it has 1 year of cloud connectivity, 1 year of the services to have the full on bundle of all of the Nebula features and functions. So here are some of the features that are available and some of the access points. So depending on which access point you use also changes what feature sets can come into it. So some of these access points do not have bridge mode, but some of them do. So if you're looking at doing bridge mode type applications, then you have to choose the ones that have those, right? So there are, it's based on the hardware. So the hardware can't do anything it's not capable of. So as if it's supported in the hardware, typically then you're able to manage it within the cloud system. So some of them also have SSID with NAT functionality in there as well. And here are some other access points that offer the 3 year Pro Pack. So, and the NAPs are Nebula, like very specific Nebula models. They are included and loaded with 3 years of the Pro Pack. But they are very similar to the other access points that you saw there. And then our higher end wireless with our smart antenna technology is there. Also our Wi-Fi 6, I think it was back here, our WAX, our Wi-Fi 6 capable access points. Those are also available within the Nebula as well. Then when you look at our switches that support Nebula, we have our NSWs. Typically, they include the Pro Packs in our NSWs, but in our mainstream gateways, or sorry, our switches, like our GS1920s and XGS1930s, those are just Nebula Flex, meaning that you can use them within the Nebula cloud. If you like to have it with the Pro Pack functionality, you then add the bundled license to that. Typically, just like average cost, it's about $30 a year or so, like around there for a year's worth of service. So very minimal when you compare it to some of the node functions that you would have to buy for third-party monitoring. Let's see, clarifying on lifetime organization site is huge. Oh yeah, so with lifetime licensing, We do offer a lifetime licensing on our organizations for our customers. You just have to make sure. So you could buy a lifetime license for a organization. So within that organization, you can have a one-time, basically a one-time license that all the devices within that organization are what we call lifetime, meaning that you only have to pay one time for the Nebula Pro Pack, and that's for a managed service provider. That's great because it's just a one-time fee that you can either charge or amortize to the customer, and then at that point, that site is no longer having a yearly fee. So you can continue to charge for the managed service provider, but managed services, and be able to collect on that revenue, even beyond the breaking point or the break even point of that service. So the cool thing too with the lifetime is that even if you change out the hardware, that seat of the access point will remain lifetime. So you could have a WAC technology right now using in Nebula, be able to take that hardware out, put it in WAX, and you don't have to pay for the additional Nebula licenses for it. It will just occupy that seat. But you have to have an organization that's lifetime. You can't mix right now currently a lifetime organization with with other sites in there that might be using a yearly a license. So make sure you have those separate if you have customers who are organizations that are lifetime versus ones that are organizations that are kind of yearly systems. It's just how because of the counter system that it's using for the credits and things like that, that it's how it consumes how much time or how much credits involved internally. It can't manage both at the same time when you have lifetime and stuff, because lifetime is unlimited, right? So that's just definitely something for you to make sure to manage and be able to watch for. But all of our products, our switches have on the higher end the ability to handle the Nebula Pro Pack. All right. So yeah, just make sure that's one of just the little quirks that are there. If you happen to have that mixed network of a lifetime network versus a non-lifetime, you can't just have them both in the same organization, because the ability that you have is to be able to use all of that within that. But once you start seeing how it's kind of divided out, you'll kind of get a better picture of why that isn't allowed at the moment. Security gateways that support Nebula, our NSG series, is currently the models that are there. But I'm happy to report that within the next few months, the USG Flex series, our recently released USG models for security appliances, will be able to be flexed into Nebula as well. So we're looking at somewhere in the first half of this year. You should be able to add the USG Flex models not only in a standalone mode, but be able to provide a cloud solution as well. So this is also another revenue opportunity, because you have the ability to sell security services, things like anti-malware, antivirus, intrusion detection, content filtering, anti-spam, blocking capabilities, being able to block peer-to-peer access, being able to block specific web pages or types or categories, social media, however you may want to do it, be able to schedule all that information, be able to use that within the cloud as well. Chris asks, are the USG 310 series going to be available in Nebula? We have purchased 40 of the monitor for your customer. Currently, the USG 310s and those older USGs will not have that, but we do have a migration path for those to get to the USG Flex. So contact with your, with your sales rep, and we should be able to help you with that. We do have trade-in programs, and when we do trade-in promotions, when you get to that point, if you're looking at your customers being able to upgrade and you want them to have that functionalities, we can definitely work with that. We have migrations for the services as well, to the to the USG Flex, and then migrate that into the Nebula platform. So we will keep watch on how that works, and once these USG Flexes are available within the Nebula, how that path looks if you are working with an existing USG product now, to be able to get it into the cloud, and be able to not have to worry about the services. So we have the migration path where you don't lose, if your customers happen to have still 8 months worth of services left, we will then transfer that services into the USG Flex, within then be able to get it into the NCC cloud. So we have our professional pack here on these products, as what I mentioned earlier. Here's some of the features that are involved with that. You can configure and deploy like a pro, meaning that there's extended features that go beyond the standard package that you get with the free. You can simplify your configurations, do the cloning web page that I mentioned before, be able to use these things in Pro Pack. You can use granular control functionalities, granularly configure these per device level or per group. You have detailed network information that you can then use to audit if you have those kinds of requirements for certain vertical applications that you're using. You have logs up to 365 days. So you can go back and check to see and troubleshoot and provide information, what MAC addresses were logged in, how, what connectivity was being used, all of that. I'm not sure about that question there. All right, so that's okay. You can pre-configure the templates. You can synchronize that. You can then clone those sites, do multiple backup restores of the devices and switches, create different sites, how it's scheduled to restore or backup all of those network sites. So it's really good. And even if you're in a break fix model right now, you're able to put these configurations within the cloud and be able to do a quick swap. You can even send to the customer, here's the access point replacement, just plug it into the same device or same ports that it's currently connected to, unplug the old one, send us back that one, and all the configurations that are required for that new access point gets pushed once it gets to the cloud. So it really makes it easy for you to configure, manage, even in a break fix kind of scenario. You have other advanced user management, be able to import different user lists, VLAN connectivity for each user as well, be able to authenticate that, even use it for authentication of VLAN connectivity to make sure that that's secure. You can bring wireless clients on board very easily. So these advanced features in the Pro give you connectivity using visibility of the customers. You have advanced control over even band steering, smart steering, meaning that the customer can go from one access point. If they are using a 5 gig connection, but it's not really good, then it will try to it tries to push you over to a 2.4, or even access point steering. So if you're connected something where you have a low connection, it will try to push you into a scenario where you will reconnect to something that is much stronger. So again, it helps with a roaming scenario. Maybe a customer is moving away from one access point, but still the client is not giving up on the connection to that old access point, and we can force them to connect to a new one. Machine learning for the wireless side gives you better information about the access point and be able to help to automate and move clients and just channels, channel width, the connectivity to ensure better connectivity, better usability of that Wi-Fi client. So not only are providing a managed service of configurations, but also because of the cloud solution that's already there, and it allows for you to do a proactive usability connectivity for the customer through the cloud system itself. Self-serve wireless access, being able to extend your captive portals to those customers as well, doing things like Facebook Wi-Fi, account creation, if you're looking to make any username passwords for that, be able to do vouchers with time limits as well. So that's really good for, let's say, a coffee shop again, or even a library where users are coming into the network, getting the free network access, but you want to limit them to, let's say, 1 hour or 30 minutes. We can be able to do that within this hosted system, be able to do the hotspot functionalities in that Pro package, be able to do smarter onboarding with dynamic personal pre-shared keys for the cloud authentication method. So really, again, for Wi-Fi access, we could do it in a very secure, a smart and secure way, and allows for easier people, if they're going on, maybe devices in a hotel room, things like that, to be able to connect to this Wi-Fi. We could see all that information, see that, and make sure that they can get connected. The machine learning helps to the APs, look at channel utilization, be able to adjust, and again, move clients to appropriate access points as needed. Really, overall, it's to give better usability, less interference from other devices, from customers, from different access points that may be in the network. You're able to see all of that information, wireless information from that, and be able to see the 30 days of performance as well. So we map out that information. We are able to do, again, machine learning to define different things of who is connected to what device, the performance, and then be able to use some AI to tweak things if necessary. So some of the Facebook Wi-Fi methods that we can connect to both in standard and Pro Pack, it's here. I won't go through the details, but you can always pause this video. It's going to be recorded, so you can always watch it again if you like, or within our Facebook page itself, you can pause and take a look at some of these other features within the free and the Pro Pack. So there are some subtle differences. So, but definitely we want you to know about what's available within the Pro. You can use things for switches that are advanced as well, made for very specific things in the Pro package. You can have advanced switch control, be able to bandwidth control, do backup and restore of the switch configurations. You can automate VLANs for connected devices. So you can choose different OUIs. So this is really helpful for maybe voice over IP applications or even cameras. So you can say all these VoIPs that have this OUID go to this particular VLAN. So we can automatically allocate and move devices into a VLAN without you even having to know, what it is. Just based on its like MAC information and OUI information, you can put cameras on one VLAN, voice over IP on another VLAN. Everybody else who doesn't apply goes into the normal data VLAN. So again, it helps with the configuration, helps with the how you build out your network. PD auto recovery. So some of our access points, some of our switches have the ability to do auto recovery, meaning that it can detect when a device, a camera, a VoIP phone, or maybe an access point that is no longer like sending traffic. It's still powered, but maybe something is stuck, it's stalled out, or maybe it's frozen. It can actually detect that and be able to do an automatic reboot and power cycle the device. So that could potentially even save you a lot of time. You can literally see maybe a blip. It might be just a blip in the system where you see a quick down, and then within whatever the boot up time for the device is, it's back online again because it's done that auto detection. So really from your standpoint, it's good to go. You can look into the logs to maybe see maybe why the device might have gone down, but you can take care of it there. Do things like IGMP configuration, do Iptv reporting. So this is another opportunity for you if you have customers who are in providing Iptv to the customers in a hospitality or in one of those kinds of services. So we give visibility on the reporting. Again, this is where managed services really comes into where you show value. You can see what users are using or what channels are being used most often, and be able to use that information on how you maybe approach the service providers. You can manage your connectivity like a pro using the Pro Pack as well. Be able to get the visibility and visualization of VPN. Be able to look at the network topology of the VPN and be able to create automatic network information. Be able to see that visually to see maybe something's connected in wrong, or maybe there's something within the network that is not correct. Advanced firmware scheduling. You can schedule your updates, your organization upgrades, or maybe configuration changes that your client needs. Be able to give you all the alerts, remote tools, even access to CLI of the device through reverse SSH tunneling. So you can access the device and be able to actually send specific CLI command line interface commands to it to make some sort of internal changes if you need to from an advanced kind of standpoint. So it gives you that automatic topology. You have that visualization within that, and you're able to then see and have those at your fingertips, access to see what switches are connected to gateways and which access points are plugged into which switches. So it gives you all that. So some of the add-on features of the Pro Pack, again, these are just very detailed information. One thing for a managed service provider is with the Pro Pack, you get an MSP branding. This allows for you to promote your brand, your logo. You can customize the NCC dashboard itself, including the logo, maybe it's the support contact, like who to contact if they have an issue, right? Rather than it going to Zyxel to try to manage it, you as the managed service provider, the customer who logs into it can get their visibility of their site or their organization, however you want to give it to them, and be able to see, okay, this is from your MSP, and if they click on I need support, then it will send you the ticket or sends you the contact information, or provide that information instead. So you can do that. So there's a lot of features and a lot of details in here. We can provide that again, or you can take a look at the video again for a lot of these specifics on what's included within the Pro Pack. You can see all these things that I've listed here in these few pages are all the Pro Pack features that are included when you subscribe to Pro. So for the switches, for the gateway. So this is very detailed on what's included within the Pro Pack. So you can see there's several pages of that. So definitely take a look at that. Or if you don't know, you can just always contact us and we can provide you a more detailed list of these specifics. So security is a big part. Security is separate from the Nebula Pro Pack. So make sure you know that because the Pro Pack is the cloud portion that just manages, for your management, for your cloning, for all that. But those security products that provide UTM functionalities, gateways, antivirus intrusion detection, content filtering, things like that, those are an additional license because those are yearly subscriptions that have to be maintained in order to get the latest signatures and be able to provide that to the different partners that we work with to providing that kind of solution. So antivirus, content filtering, application intelligence patrol, if you're looking at being able to block peer-to-peer downloads, BitTorrents, things like that. Intrusion detection and prevention, prevent your malware, your ransomware connectivity. So security services in general have been kind of the primary, maybe recurring revenue opportunity because everybody has to subscribe to it on a yearly basis for the devices that they use. So this is where one of the other opportunities within, not only in the cloud, but then within the device that providing that security functions. And of course, once we get the USG Flexes into Nebula, that opens up a whole new range of products and functionalities and higher speed throughputs that the current solution doesn't have yet. So this is going to open it up within the next few months, a really big boom in the security gateway sides within the Nebula. We've done really well within the switches and the gateways, and this is going to help with the security side of it to be able to provide and move it into the cloud. Being able to get that application awareness, being able to see what applications are being used, how much bandwidth is being used as well, and to what customers. That gives you the visibility, the reporting that you will need to provide to your customer to say, hey, these are the sites, the top applications being used, the top threats that you're facing. Provide this in a report form that's customized report to your customer, and again, show you the value that they're paying, whatever per month or per year for the services that you are giving to them. So we can give information on the antivirus and the intrusion detections, can drill into that. If you want to see more, you can check out the live demo. If you go to the Nebula website, so nebula.zycel.com, you can log in using the login account nebula@zycel.com, password Nebula demo. It appears right there within the login. So if you just go check it out, you can log in and see and kind of drive through, take a test drive of the Nebula platform and see how the different information, the different views, what you can configure. And so it gives you kind of a baseline of what. Now, if you're looking at doing kind of a live demo yourself to get kind of hands-on installation of the device, go through the process of provisioning and configuring it, we do have demo kits that you can contact our sales reps to be able to provide that to you. The other opportunities, so outside of Nebula, is, like I mentioned, security. So our security series, be able to provide secure VPN connectivity, secure UTM with our USG Flex, and provide the highest security applications through our ATP series. That's another revenue opportunity because of the yearly subscriptions, because of the complexity of building these kinds of networks using firewalls and gateways. So you can see here again, a very range of feature sets that you would encounter if you're looking at providing this. But really the main one is either hospitality, VPN connectivity, and also secure network access using UTM functions for blocking with high bandwidth throughput capabilities. And then the third The third kind of opportunity you have here is with Amazon VPC and Microsoft Azure. So in order to get connectivity into those cloud systems, you need a certified firewall. And actually, Zyxel is one of only 7 vendors who are certified in both Amazon VPC and Microsoft Azure. So they will build basically multiple tunnels that can load balance and fail over to the Amazon cloud or to the Microsoft cloud, and be able to give you access to that business to the different services. So if you have a hosted service, or maybe a CRM, or a web host, or a DNS server, whatever it may be, you can use our products to provide that service. So again, that could be your managed service to be able to provide that connectivity on a monthly basis to your customer to provide that cloud service. So if you're in that business of selling cloud services, this is the platform that allows for you to make that connectivity. And all of the products, again, range from a lot of different features. The VPN series with high availability, with some basic content filtering, moving into our flexible, our USG Flex models, which is with high performance UTM, and our high-end Ultimate series, or ATP, that provides, on top of all the UTM functions, sandboxing for the highest threat management out there. So you get better. If you're using their standalone products, you can jump into and use our Secu Reporter monitoring. So if you're not using the cloud for reports, you can use Secu Reporter for our security appliances to get that network information. You can get reporting, analysis, alerting, monitoring, some visualization in the cloud. So it's still in the cloud, it's hosted there, but it's primarily driven for if you're just on kind of the security side of things, on the security basis. So I'm going to skip ahead because we are running out of time. We've been covering a lot, but it gives you, at least a basis of some of the ideas of things we want to be able to show you. It manages the devices similar to what's in Nebula right now. Just so you know, eventually the Secu Reporter is going to be part of the Nebula cloud. So just letting you know, that's what we're working on as well, being able to make the visualization, the reporting tools that are here found in Secu Reporter, which is a little bit more advanced than what's in the Nebula cloud right now, but importing basically this functionality into the Nebula cloud and kind of rolling everything in because of the USG Flex, and things will all be part of that cloud solution. So you all have all your reporting, your customer reports, as you would see in the Nebula cloud. And we want to do that, and we achieve even for European countries for GDPR, and also for some additional US privacy compliances that are coming on the pipeline as well. So we know that we can be anonymous. You have settings for non-anonymous, partially anonymous, and even fully anonymous data information. So that's Secu Reporter. If you want to see some more information on that, you can look at secureporter.cloudcnm.zyxel.com, or just visit that page on our webpage. And lastly is our partner program. So if you want to join our partner program, it's a very aggressive partner program. It's free to sign up. You immediately start at the silver tier, and to maintain that, you just need to do 6K in sales in a 6-month period. So really 1K a month, then you're there. You get double-digit margins over at distribution. We work with D&H, Ingram Micro, Synnex, Wave, and Target Distribution for that. But we want you to get to the gold tier. So again, no cost to get there. It's just a sales requirement to get to that, and we can bump you up. If you are a partner right now who's close to gold and wants to get a quicker bump up, once you get to that 12K, even if you do it in one project, 1 month, let us know. We can bump you up to that within distribution, so you can get the max distribution discounts that we have available. So definitely looking forward to being and working with you as a partner. Since we don't have much time, I'm 2 minutes over, but I thank you for that. If you have any further questions that I didn't answer, please send me an email. So please send me. I know there was a couple questions that I couldn't answer on the fly there. Please send those to me at try@zyxel.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But until then, thank you for this kind of this giant rush through there's a lot of information. I didn't even cover some of the other applications that I think, but I think what, in summary is that Nebula, I think, is going to be your platform on providing managed services and be able to have revenue opportunities. All the different applications that are available within Nebula really leverage the products that were in their standalone mode. So you have your hospitalities, you have your wireless access, your switching core networks, be able to manage that and be able to auto VLAN, auto configure. It helps you not only from a managed standpoint, you don't need your additional hardware, you don't need any additional software to be able to do some of these functions that typically would take, you would have to build everything out custom for yourself. But this is all housed in one package, be able to manage multiple customers all at the same time, and be able to do it in a very efficient way, and very cost-effective way as well. So definitely take a look at the solutions that I've had there. And I appreciate the time that you've allowed me to speak to you. And we look forward to talking to you another time over at Tech Talk with Zyxel. So again, my name is Try. Send me an email, try@zyxel.com if you have any questions. We look forward to seeing you again soon. We'll see you next time. Thank you.